love with someone else too. The first time that I met this other partner, I would say things like, oh, I'm taking notes on this form of manipulation. I've never seen this one before.
Hey guys, this is the part two of the woman telling us about her being in love with somebody else while she's married. And she says she's getting a divorce, but then she's not getting a divorce because she's in love with someone else. She's getting a divorce for a different, complete reason. So that part one, she was telling us about, she and her husband, how they decided to see other people. She met the man and how this person has, how he abused her and all of that. So let's watch this video together and I'll see you at the end of the story time.
Part 4, I'm married and I'm in love with someone else too, but that's not the reason why I might be getting a divorce. So this is the 4th part in the series where I'm going to finally talk about the relationship with the other partner that I had, where I had discovered that I was not monogamous, but I also was not interested in just hooking up with random people. But again, this was something that I was realizing at this time. So I travel a lot for work. I'm an entrepreneur, and for this work, there's a lot of different opportunities to connect with people in my field. So I ended up going somewhere where it was in Las Vegas, and it was like this. I mean, I'm from Las Vegas originally, but I haven't lived there in 10 years. So it was like my first time being a tourist, and it had been probably, it'd been 10 years 11 years since I lived there. And I had moved from Vegas like a month after my 18th birthday. And I met my current partner, who I've been married to for about 9 years. I met him like 9 or 10 months, 11 months after I moved. No, 10 months, sorry, it doesn't really matter. But I met him like 10 months after I moved to where I live now from Vegas. So I went there and I was kind of looking around. I was like, well, maybe I will hook up with somebody this time. I mean, we're in Vegas. It could be fun. I found somebody that I wanted to hook up with. And one thing about me is I know I'm not the most attractive person in the world, but I'm a personality hire. And so I have never had a problem basically getting what I want or who I want. I just don't really particularly want that many people because I have very special eyes, and they had my brand that day. And so I kind of set my eyes on them, and I was kind of watching them around, like seeing if I liked how they acted, if they came off like they had a big ego or something like that, because I don't like people, because this person is like really well known. There's a lot of people who are well known who act like they're well known, you know what I mean? Like they always have to have a posse, and they just are just generally dicks. And so I don't like that. And I don't, even if I'm just hooking up with somebody, like I don't want to be associated with somebody like that. And I noticed that people would kind of be gravitating towards this person and cry on their shoulder, and they seemed to really be like just somebody that was very approachable, even though they look very not approachable. Which, I see now, like we'll get into it later. I did make a blanket video earlier, but there is a lot of trigger warnings for this relationship that I had with this person. At one point on like the last day, there was this party, and then there was kind of like an unofficial after party where if you knew about it, you could go, but it wasn't like necessarily an invite only type of thing. And so I went with some friends. Actually went with this person who's a body double for somebody like who has a movie coming out this next year, which is really cool and random to meet in my line of work. But I went with him as his guest. At one point they were having like this closet party. Well, I was hanging out with one of my girlfriends, and she's kind of what I call a runner. When she drinks, she just disappears. And so I am gonna call her Trainwreck Tammy. And Trainwreck Tammy was next to me at the open bar 1 minute in this like suite, and then the next minute she was gone. And I was like, oh great, I gotta go find Trainwreck Tammy. So I was asking around, have you seen Trainwreck Tammy? Have you seen Trainwreck Tammy? Again, this other partner, was not on my mind at all. I was just with my friends. I was just hanging out, having a good time. And somebody was finally like, yes, I saw her in the closet with some guys. And I was like, Tammy, like, really. I mean, I'm not judging, but like she had been drinking and stuff, so I wanted to obviously make sure that she was safe and that, you know, it was a situation that I don't think that she would have been able to consent, if you know what I mean. And I want to make sure nobody was taking advantage of her. And so I went and I checked in all of these giant bedrooms, and I walk into a closet in one of the giant bedrooms, and sure enough, Trainwreck Tammy is in there. And she is in there indeed with some men, but there's also women in there as well. And it wasn't what it sounded like. It was just like some people had decided to sit on, you know, in the closet together and just hang out and listen to music, kind of like a little space for the autistic people is how I just think of it. It's like, okay, these people are like the sensory overloaded people, and this is where they've chosen to take their party. So I saw the person that I had been like interested in. I'd only talked to them like briefly at like a couple of the events and stuff, but again, like I just kind of went my separate way. Like I've never been somebody to chase anybody, and I was just keeping it professional, you know, because it has to feel right. Like it needs to be, I don't want to force anything, right? Even if it is just a hookup. So I saw the person sitting in the closet, and I was like, I need to find a way to sit next to them. And so I did. And everything was great and fine. We sat in there for like 2 hours, and people were like bringing us like shots of tequila, like from the like main party area. People would like somehow figure out that we were all in this closet. And then I was like, hey, because I was sitting like on a shelf in the closet, and I didn't want to get down and lose my spot. So I would basically ask like this body double guy, I was like, can you get us shots of tequila? And like for some reason people just did. They just brought us shots. So we were just like taking shots in this closet, and like the owner of the company that was that coordinated this event for the people in my industry ended up like walking into the closet and was kind of like, what is going on? And I was like, oh shit, like we're gonna be in trouble because we're literally sitting on a shelf in this suite that probably costs more than like, anyway, I digress. And so he walked in, and we kind of were all like, oh shit, like we're in trouble. It's like dad just walked in. But then he was like, hey, and so like it was all cool, and we were having fun. And then at some point I decided that I wanted to try to hold this person's hand. And I don't know what came over me, because I'm not a forward person at all, but like we had been chatting and everything was going good, and we had like brushed hands a couple times, like accidentally. And so I just held their hand, and we held hands for a while. There is some back context that starts at this moment, and I can't decide if I should add it in now or later. Probably later, right? So I can get like what was going on in my head during the relationship, and then I can go back later and kind of provide some more context, because spoiler alert, like there was a lot going on that I just simply couldn't have predicted, and honestly ignored a lot of red flags. But anyway, that was the extent of the first time that we had basically interacted. And at the end of the night, we went our separate ways. But I did lose my phone and my wallet in the casino, which is like a whole story. But basically, I did find my phone and my wallet. My phone was like on a slot machine for some reason, and then my wallet was like in a random tower of the hotel on top of an ice vending machine. But like I had like $200 cash and like my credit cards and my IDs and stuff in there, and all of it was still in there. So I don't know what happened, but yeah, I'm glad that it did. But because I lost my phone, this person had called my phone to see if maybe we could hear it ringing around where we were sitting, and that is how we got each other's number. And after this event, we had decided to stay in contact with each other and just kind of did some, you know, like touching base, like nothing crazy, but we knew that we were going to see each other again the next month at another work event. And this work event is where a lot of things were found out about this other person, and where some pretty traumatic things happened basically right at the start of the relationship that should have ended it right away. And I will go into that in more detail in the next video, which I will try to get out as soon as possible. Part 5 of I'm married and I'm in love with someone else too, but it's not the reason that I might be getting a divorce. So we left off at the first time that I met this other partner. and we have now been in communication for about a month. Our form of communication, I could instantly and immediately and unfortunately tell right away that they were avoidant, leaving my messages unreplied to for a day or 12 hours or sometimes 10 minutes, sometimes right away. But again, it's a game, right? And I knew this, and I would say things like, oh, I'm taking notes on this form of manipulation, I've never seen this one before, or something like that. Like, I was fully aware that this was the type of person that they were, but in my head I was like, it's fun. It's, by the way, not fun. But in my head I was like, oh, this is like an experience that I didn't get to have. Which, first of all, let me just say, if anybody's watching this and you're younger, you don't need to entertain these type of situations, okay? And I think that's why I let myself do this, because I didn't need to entertain it. It was just entertaining to me, but there's nothing entertaining about it. I can't explain it. Scratched an itch in my brain that didn't need to be scratched. My childhood of abuse by a narcissistic father. We are going to be at the same work event a month later. We know this. We didn't really talk about anything, but we kind of, I feel like we're both adults. Oh, by the way, this person is 42 at this point. So this is like a full grown person, okay? I'm also full grown, but like not that grown, to the point where like this person should not be acting this way still. But anyway, so we get together the first night of this work event. We connect and we say hey, and it was really nice to see them in person, and it was at this party. Again, at a lot of these, well, every work event that I've been to, that I've traveled for, that hosts like a lot of the people that do what I do, there's always alcohol. Now, it's not always free. I mean, it's not technically part of it, right? But alcohol is always plentiful. There's always a bar. There's in this particular place, there was literally a bar. Like, well, the first place is Vegas, right? So there's always a bar 24 hours in the hotel we were staying in. So I had seen them drinking, but like everybody was drinking, and I didn't really pay close enough attention to see like how much they were drinking or whatever, because like these are not things that were going through my head that I need to like look for in other people, right? I just take care of myself. Having events in this main hall of this place where the bar is, and they had like drink specials for us and stuff like that. So again, it's not officially sanctioned that they're providing the alcohol or anything like that, but essentially they know that people are going to be drinking alcohol. They make it accessible, which again, we're all adults, not a problem, but I will say it is kind of a gray area to be, if you catch my drift. At this point, they weren't acting any sort of way, so it was fine, like whatever. We're just gonna hook up or something, At the end of this night, the party's over. I'm a night owl, so I don't want to like just go to bed, so I find my friend from the last video, Trainwreck Tammy. For this night, we go to my room because I had brought like a box of wine or something like that. And so we're drinking wine in my room for probably about like an hour, 2 hours maybe, and then eventually the girls are like, okay, I think it was 2 girls and this other partner. The girls were like, okay, we're gonna head out, we're gonna go to bed, and then they kind of did the thing where like, they looked at this other partner and they were like looking back at them, and then they looked at me, and then I looked at them, and so the girls were like, oh, like they didn't say that, but it was kind of one of those moments where it was like, like I got this. It's a little awkward because I've never been in that position before. And then as soon as the girls left, I was like, oh, I don't know how to initiate this. I do not know how to hook up with somebody. I mean, I do, like, it doesn't seem that hard, but like, I don't know, like, I didn't think I'd get this far, or like, maybe I did, but like, I didn't make a plan, okay? Like, I brought the necessary protections in case this happened. Like, my partner always made sure that I had them with me. My nesting partner, my primary partner, I don't like to say primary partner because I don't like hierarchy, but again, non-hierarchical
polyamory and hierarchical polyamory. They're different forms. Again, I recommend you do your own research because I don't have enough time to go into all of it. But basically, that's the only thing that I did. I made a plan ish, and then once the moment actually got to it, I was like, I have never associated with a person in this way before. For some reason, my brain just like shut off. And so we kind of like looked at each other and we like sat on the bed together, and then we started talking because I think that they also are not, I don't know, knowing what I know now, it doesn't make sense, but like it seemed very like meet cute, like it in a way where it was like both of us weren't really sure how to approach it, so we just kind of laid down and talked to each other. And we did kiss that night, but that was it. We just went to bed together, which is so crazy to me because I don't even know how that happened, but like, yeah, so just kind of a spoiler, we didn't actually end up sleeping together in that way until the night before the event was over, which I believe it was 4 days. And so for 3.5 of those days, we didn't do anything like that. We just, I don't know, like, it sounds crazy, it sounds unbelievable, but like really we just slept together, but we mostly just talked all night until the sun came up. And it was weird for me because it took that pressure off of me, but also it was very intense. And during this time, this person was drinking a lot. And at this point I was like noticing the amount that they were drinking, but again, I'm not their mom, I'm not their partner, so I mean, I really have no stake in this person's life, so I didn't really say anything about it because it's hard to explain, but it was almost like when you're at these events, like everybody's drinking a lot. I mean, I wasn't drinking that much, but I also I just don't do that. But you know, some people, when it's a special occasion, they go hard, right? I'm not saying that it's healthy, but like, I just had never, I don't know, I just didn't know what to think, essentially, which is on me. But like, I noticed that they were drinking a lot and they were acting like pretty normal, which is weird because at this point I realize now that I had only ever seen them drunk, or yeah, drunk. I mean, so that kind of plays into this whole story as well. But again, still wasn't clocking to me. I wasn't standing on business with the fact that this person is struggling with alcoholism. I had never been around an alcoholic in that form. I was raised by somebody who, like my biological father, who drank a lot. But to me, it was like, if you're still functioning and it's not obvious, then it's not, I don't know. I had only seen one form of alcoholism before, if that makes sense. I'm running out of time. I'm going to post another part.
Part 7, I'm married and I'm in love with someone else too, but that's not the reason why I might be getting a divorce. So we left off at the second night of the work event. The other partner was just starting to weird people out because of how aggressive they were being. I think most people chalked it up to them just being drunk. Well, I decided I had had enough, and I just was like, I can't wait for them to sleep this off, but all I know is I can't take it anymore, so I'm gonna go to my room. And again, we were staying together in my room at this point. I knew that they would be back at some point, but doesn't really matter. I just needed to get out of there. And so I left. Not even a couple minutes later, the guy that I was friends with started actually picking up on this person's weird aggressive vibe, and so they ended up leaving. He ended up leaving as well. This other partner figured out, or thought, that he must be coming to my room because we left not too long after each other. And that wasn't the case, but in their head, that's what was happening. Maybe like 5 minutes after I came back to my room, I had literally probably just sat on the bed from walking in. They walked in and they had a key card to my room. The first thing they said when they walked in was, "Oh, I expected so-and-so to be in here with you and you guys to be." And I said, "What? Like, I left him in there with you guys. Like, I left before anybody else did." And they were like, "Yeah, well, he left like a little bit after you, so I figured you guys were like messaging and we're gonna go thing." And I was like, no, I wouldn't do that. I'm here with you. We're hanging out together. Like, that's not the situation between us anyway. We're just being really aggressive now. This is like really bad, okay? So like if you have a problem with DV and stuff like that, maybe you should just go to the next part. But this was escalating quickly. I was trying to de-escalate it and just reassure them and be there for them. I, in my head, was like, they're really drunk, they just need to go to bed, like I just need to calm the situation down for now. Unfortunately, they were not wanting to calm down. I don't really remember the specifics of like what happened. I know that regardless, there's nothing you can do to deserve this treatment, but I know that for sure, like all I had tried to do was de-escalate and soothe and stuff. At some point, they ended up basically pushing me onto the bed and putting their hand in this place on my body. And it wasn't like cutting my airway off or anything, but they had basically put me in this position. It doesn't, I mean, it does matter the intention, because why else would you do that? But I just remember being very still, kind of confused as to what was happening. I said, "Partner, you're hurting me." That's literally all I said. They looked at me and they just had this, like this coldness, this like blankness in their eyes. All of a sudden I saw something like kind of switch. They took their hand off, kind of chuckled, and were like more of a scoff actually, or maybe a chuckle, I don't know. And they were like, "Huh, I'm hurting you, huh?" And they kind of like slowly backed off, like walked backwards. I didn't even have time to like process this, and they were falling with their, you know, when you like slide your back down against the wall, crying about just how stressed out they are because they have an important job at this event. They, you know, all very otherwise rational and reasonable things to be very stressed out about when you have high expectations for yourself. This person, you know, does come from nothing, has built an amazing career, and has earned respect. At the time, I unfortunately decided that must be why they're acting this way. Took the role of comforter, held them while they cried, and yeah, I don't know, somehow it went from them having me in that position to them crying on my lap about everything. It was topics like, you know, their best friend passing away, childhood trauma. I do want to respect this person's trauma and not share too much about it, because like I said, they are all very valid reasons to kind of be upset and be stressed out and stuff, and to, they could very easily lead somebody to have emotional problems. But I do also want to say that there was nothing rational or valid or reasonable or justifiable in any way for what they did to me. At the time, I had almost, it had been like 2 minutes and I kind of forgot that they did it already. I don't know how to explain it. I might make another video about this topic explaining it better, but like just putting it all out there for the first time is really hard, because it took me probably like 9 months to finally accept that that's what they did. My nesting partner, that I told him about what happened, he got like so upset for me. It was hard for him not to instinctually basically get upset at me for putting myself in that position, which I understand. The initial reaction should not have been that, but unfortunately it was, because I mean, he was scared for me. As much as we want to say that we would be like, react the appropriate way to hearing something like that done to somebody that you love, you just don't really know until you're there, I guess. I don't know. I'm not defending them, victim blaming, but I didn't consider myself a victim when I told him. So, which is so weird. I'm still processing it, obviously, which is why I'm going to make another video about it in the future. If anybody has anything to say about that. The night ended where I never talked about it. They never apologized. and I was comforting them in their emotions and pushing what happened to me away from my mind. And we never talked about it until very recently, where I will get to that part in the story, but we continued to see each other for um, probably like 4 or 5 more months after that. They never brought it up. I don't know if they remember doing it even. I did talk to them about it at a later date eventually, but they were really drunk, so who knows. Anyway, if you find yourself in a situation like this, I want you to know that there's never, ever a good reason for somebody to do that to you. There is a statistic about when a partner gets to this point with their hurting you, and I'll insert it in this part if I can, but it makes things a lot more dangerous. It's also a really big concern because typically people don't just go from nothing to that. So that means that that person is typically comfortable, at least, with doing hurtful things to people physically. I'm trying to be so careful and not get this removed. But yeah, I just wanted to make a separate video about that experience. It doesn't happen again, which is why I excused it for so long and didn't process it, because they were never like that to me again. So yeah. In this one, at least, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, because there are victims who might see this and they see what you write, no matter how you feel about me. Just keep, like, imagine it was your sister or your mom or something, and keep it respectful as you can.
What do you guys think on this story time? Can you share your thoughts about the video down in the comment section? Respectfully, as always. There's something about men that try to physically abuse you. They always come out, blaming trauma or blaming something. They will just, it's either they start crying and acting like they never knew what they were doing, they are sorry. And this is what happened, that you don't even know that you're deep into that situation. You just be pitying them. You don't start pitying them, start making excuses for them. Because most of the time when they start abusing their women, you will start beating them, because at the end of the day, the moment they finish beating you, they start crying. They start crying, you start consoling. You're the one that's supposed to be crying because you're the one that they just finished beating. But instead of you to cry, they'll be the one crying and saying, I need help, I'm not okay. And they start, blaming trauma, or blaming that they are not okay, or they didn't even know what they were doing. The next thing, some of them start buying you gifts, stuff to make you feel like, oh, it will never happen again. But then it always happen again. And you wonder why some women do not leave this particular partner and they still continue being in a relationship with them. And they know that they are being physically abused. And you'll be like, why are you not leaving immediately? Because it's what these men do after they abuse you physically. It's what they do after that makes these women stay. They kind of give them that reassurance, I will never do it again. I don't know what I was doing. I need help. I'm sorry. They'll be deeply sorry, and they'll start being very nice, super nice after that. In fact, they'll start feeling as if they're ashamed of themselves. So you'll not start feeling bad, like, oh my God, he doesn't actually mean it. Like, he's not that terrible person. It just happened once in a while. And when it happens, he knows how terrible he treated. Like, I just feel like that is their pattern everywhere, every time. I don't want it to just be too long. You guys, what is your take on the story time? Let me know what about the video done in the comment section. Respectfully, as always, Sugar Maria David, and thank you so much for tuning in today's video. I hope you enjoyed this one. Please like and share and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one, guys.